Join Boise State Public Radio for a concert with blues guitarist and vocalist Coco Montoya at the Treefort Music Hall in Boise, February 13th. This concert is in honor of longtime KBSU DJ Arthur Ballinger, who is retiring after 47 years. Doors at 6, concert at 7 on the 13th of February for a night with Coco Montoya at the Treefort Music Hall. Details at boisestatepublicradio.org.
From the studios of Boise State Public Radio News, I'm Samantha Wright, filling in for Jimmy Gaudette. This is Idaho Matters. When you're serving time in prison, you can have a lot of empty time on your hands, and it can be very hard to stay in touch with your family. That's what Mark Person was facing as he was serving 15 years in an Idaho prison when he found a way to keep in touch with his daughter. He started crocheting. He became a master of crochet and of a special Japanese technique for making small stuffed animals, and he started teaching other people in prison how to crochet. They started teaching other people, and TJ Harder also learned how to crochet while in prison. The Idaho Prison Arts Collective believes that using arts like these can be very beneficial to folks who are serving time, and they're hosting an event next week where Mark and TJ will teach anyone who wants to learn while sharing some of their crochet wisdom. Here to tell us more are Mark and TJ and Michael Richardson, the executive director of the Idaho Prison Arts Collective. I want to say hi to everybody. How you doing today?
Hi, Samantha.
Great, thank you.
Doing great.
Awesome.
Good afternoon.
Michael, remind us, what is the Idaho Prison Arts Collective?
Yeah, so we're a nonprofit started about 4 years ago, and our mission is to bring arts experiences and arts programming into people in the Idaho prison system. So creative writing, I teach. We have a dance program for women in Pocatello right now. Also, there's music and painting and other stuff going on.
Gotcha. Mark, you were serving 15 years in prison, and you started to crochet. How did this come about? How did this happen?
I did. It all started with a phone call to my sister, and she was teaching my daughter how to crochet. And I'd mentioned that, they'd had that there. What I didn't mention was that, not many people did that. And next thing I knew, I ended up with a big bag of yarn and a crochet dummies for dummies book. And I called my sister and she said, you're going to do this because you need to take care of your daughter. You need to have something that you can do and have something you guys can share. And that's where it all began.
Wow. That is awesome. So it helped you actually stay in touch with your daughter.
It did. And it had, I sent her a lot of stuffed animals. You mentioned the amigurumi, Japanese art of crochet, and it was something that I really enjoyed because I could send her little stuffed animals and whatnot, and it was really great.
Wow! And you became kind of a master of crochet. So good, you started teaching other people. How did that happen?
I did. So it all started with actually a pair of slippers, and I had them on my feet, and I walked out, and somebody noticed and said, "Well, where did you get those?" And it drew a lot of attention. And next thing you know, I had half of the tier, or really the entire tier, crocheting, and it sprung from there. And I would preach that to all the guys that hey, this is what we need to do. We need to do this for our kids, and they need that, and it just started a trend, I guess.
Wow. Okay, TJ, you also spent time in prison, and that's where you learned how to crochet. How did that happen?
Well, I would say that I committed myself my last 5 years in prison to being a student of any kind. I just was really, my brain was kind of like a sponge, and I was trying to pick up everything that I could. So I was studying Spanish, learned how to play the guitar, and I wanted to be more rounded with the arts, and crochet was available in what they call the hobby crafts. And it seemed like the most affordable out of all of them. And there was a guy on my tier, Phil Medlin, who was crocheting, and he offered to teach me a few things. So I went that route instead of with like drawing or painting or anything like that. I wasn't aware that the Idaho Prison Art Collective was available at that time. It was years later that it was made known to the facility that I was at that they had that.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I started crocheting with Phil, and he taught me just the basics, and then he made parole, and COVID happened,
Oh.
and so we got moved around a whole bunch. I ended up landing onto a tier I kept a job in the kitchen the whole time, and so when they segregated everyone due to COVID, they had the essential workers onto one tier. And so I was in with all the kitchen workers, and there was a guy in there. He was quite the character. I still don't know his first name. We all just know him by Wilson. But yeah, he's an unforgettable guy. I saw him crocheting, and I told him, hey, I can do a chain, and that's about it. And so he showed me the magic circle, but he didn't know how to read stitch. And then he made parole. So I knew how to make a straight line, and I knew how to make a circle, and I just kind of started freestyling, and I got pretty creative with it, and I just kind of looked at it as like a piece of clay, or I just started making all kinds of cool stuff with the few things that I knew how to do. And
Yeah, TJ has made things like backpacks,
oh yeah,
like with pockets and pretty elaborate pieces.
and I brought one of my backpacks in. I was attending a college course that was funded, BSU course funded by Dodds Hayden, and the crochet Don, the OG of crochet, was in there, Jason Burdett, and he can be kind of reserved. Once you get to know him, he's an awesome guy, but at first he's a bit intimidating, and he saw that I had one of my backpacks, and he's like, "Oh, you like to do that, huh?" And we started a conversation, and we got to know each other through crocheting and became great friends after that. But he taught me how to actually crochet, how to read the stitch, how to do everything proper. And if anyone's had any interactions with Jason, which every crocheter in the corrections probably has, they'll know he's very particular. So I had to relearn all my bad habits and everything. And it was, once I got to know him, I had a lot of fun teasing him with his particular style, because I mean, why not?
Wow. Okay, so I'm hearing things like making friends, learning skills, keeping in touch with family. Mark, I want to ask you: Did crocheting, learning how to crochet, did it help change your life?
It absolutely did. Yeah, it's definitely a form of meditation, and it's hard to think of anything else when you're counting stitches. And it really, I've heard a lot of guys that I've taught over the years have said, it really changed their lives, and helped them focus and help them have some peace of mind. I had a lot of guys that had OCD, and that it was a real therapy for them to be able to sit down and focus their mind on creating something. And that's all of the arts, but crochet is one of those that it's very hard to think of all the negative or whatever it is when you're focused on counting stitches and creating something.
And if I could add on that, I mean, when it gets its hooks in you, no pun intended, it definitely is an addictive thing. I mean, I don't think you have to be in prison to really get hooked on crocheting. Once you start, it's something you always want to start picking up and getting after. And in the correctional facilities, it's incentivized. So it really keeps people, nobody can just go and do it. You have to apply for a hobby craft, and you have to be approved. There's steps to it. You can't just go and start crocheting. And so it's incentivized. So, it keeps some people's behavior in check, like, oh, well, I don't want to lose my hobby craft, or it's just something that you can kind of hold over somebody who has discipline issues.
We're speaking with Michael Richardson, the executive director of the Idaho Prison Arts Collective and Crochet Masters. Mark Person and TJ Harder. We're talking about the Hooked on Hope event next week. Michael, tell us about the event. What is this?
Yeah, so this is a benefit event for Idaho Prison Arts Collective where you can come and learn the basics of crochet from Mark and TJ. It's going to be at the Cathedral of the Rockies on Thursday, February 20th from 6:30 to 9 p.m. Yeah, I just love the fact that we can take advantage of these kind of master craftspeople in our community to, bring attention to the experiences that Mark and TJ are talking about.
Well, it sounds like it sounds fascinating. Mark, what are you hoping that people who come to the workshop take away?
I love to share our stories. I love to you know, just the art of crochet. I'd love for anybody to come and, just share in this event with us and learn.
We've been speaking with Michael Richardson, the executive director of the Idaho Prison Arts Collective, and crochet masters Mark Person and TJ Harder about the Hooked on Hope event next week. We're going to put a link on our website, boisestatepublicradio.org. And we're also going to put a picture up of Michael's very first crocheted granny squares, so you can get an idea of what they're going to be making at the event. I want to thank all three of you, and good luck with the event, Hooked on Hope.
Thank you so
Samantha.
much.
Thank you. Hope to see you guys there.
And that'll do it for this episode of Idaho Matters. Thanks so much for listening. And just a reminder, you can find all of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts.
Each morning, it's a new opportunity, a chance to start fresh. Up First from NPR makes each morning an opportunity to learn and to understand. Choose to join the world every morning with Up First, a podcast that hands you everything going on across the globe and down the street, all in 15 minutes or less. Start your day informed and anew with Up First by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts.